I remember back in 2008, I worked with this woman, and before we became close, she would always tell me about how her and her husband would have the best time together. They got along. He was her miracle man. She showed me wedding pictures. She sung at their wedding. She's had horrible relationships, and now they travel and have all kinds of fun together. Hearing this, I was genuinely happy for them. This is amazing. But then as I got to know her, once she became comfortable around me and we started to hang out and go to lunch and do girl stuff, she was honest with me. And she said, I've really noticed that my husband, let's call him Bobby, I really noticed that Bobby is starting to pull away from me, and he's just really distant, and he's not really in the mood to have fun or do anything. Now, I do know a little something. I wasn't born yesterday. And I didn't tell her this at the time because it took me a little bit of life experiences to kind of learn what's up. But much like how a lot of us women bought into the patriarchy and the idea that marriage solves your problems and family fixes everything, so did men. Men have been given this idea that they have to be leaders, they have to be providers, they have to have a family, they can't just be out here untethered and wandering the earth. And you get more respect if you're a married man and you have a family that you're taking care of. It's a very 1950s idea for white people. The men who had wives and children at home were more likely to get promoted. And then your little lady at home took care of the home, the kids, and did, everything in her power to help you get to where you wanted to get in life. Now, don't get me wrong, I have not turned into a men's advocate. Absolutely the fuck not. But I'm going to spit some facts here, so just bear with me. A lot of these men only got married because people around them said, hey, you and your girlfriend have been together for a while. It's time for y'all to get married, or y'all shouldn't move in together unless you're married, or she's pregnant, so y'all should get married, or because you also brought into the idea, maybe you were the one who turned up the heat and said, I want to be married. When are we getting married? And that doesn't always work. You see women who on this app have been with their partner multiple years and still don't have a ring despite the fact that they want one. But some of these men are like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and get married so my family can shut up. So I look good to the church or to my job, or, I really don't want to lose my girlfriend. So sure, I'll get married. And then this idea of having a legacy, they have kids and they think, sure, I can do the whole father thing, even though 9 times out of 10 the woman's going to be the one, taking care of the kids most of the time. So they get married, they have kids, and then they wake up one day and they think, oh, I really don't want this. Just like we wake up one day and say, oh, I really don't want this. I got the short end of the stick. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning. I've given up my identity. I don't like this. This business model is not working. The man leader providing, the woman supporting, running the household. I'm not liking this. It's not working. Now, some men will have a major adverse reaction and they'll start cheating, abusing you, and just completely go cold shoulder. But you have, on the other hand, some men who will just bury themselves in their hobbies. They're not abusive, they're not cheating, but they're spending a lot more time in their man cave. They're not talking as much, and you feel the difference. You know something is up. Now, these particular men, you'll go to them and you say, did I do something wrong? Are you mad at me? And they'll say, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we can go through a day or a couple of days where we just don't want to be bothered because the boss is being an asshole. The traffic is ridiculous. There's a deadline or something, maybe there's cuts going on at work. I understand that, for a little while when you might just want to gather your thoughts. But even with that, communication is important. You need to communicate that. And I also understand, as someone who struggles with bipolar disorder, I do go through really high highs and really low lows. Again, communication is key. If I'm dating somebody and we're at a certain level, I do communicate my mental health struggles with them and what that looks like. So you go to them, they keep saying, no, nothing's wrong. But something is off and it's been an extended amount of time. I would go to them and just be like, hey, babe, whatever. Let's call this person Charles. Don't get hung up on the name. I just made it up. Your husband's name is Charles. I ain't talking about him. I don't know him. So you go to Charles and you say, babe, I noticed that for X amount of days, you really have not been yourself. You've been distant. You've been burying yourself and playing pool for 37 hours a day. And I've come to you and I've asked you, hey, what's wrong? And you keep telling me there's nothing wrong. And I know that there is. And that makes me feel unsafe. It makes me feel scared that you're not communicating something with me. It makes me feel like I can't trust you. So whatever is going on in that brain of yours, I need you to communicate that with me. And if they continue to be like, no, babe, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. Okay, you're telling me this, and I know what I'm experiencing. And if you continue on like this, it will cause our marriage to deteriorate, because I'm not going to be in a relationship with someone who I don't feel comfortable, who I don't feel safe with. Now, this is where you got to be honest and just be like, is it something I said? Is it something I did? Is it the division of labor? Do you feel stressed at work? Is it somebody else? And I need you to be honest with me. And that part is where a lot of women are going to be like, I can't say that. Listen, if you're married to somebody who you can't have them deep conversations with, you're already in trouble. Now let's get back to the point. If he continues to say, no, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. Okay, as I stated before, if it continues like this, it's not good and it will ruin our marriage. So if that is what you want and you continue to go down the path, just know I'm going to do what I got to do to make sure me and the kids are taken care of. And I'm not saying I'm going to leave today or tomorrow, but just know I'm not going to allow this constant miscommunication to go on. If they say, okay, I'm ready to talk, you move accordingly. If they say, no, everything's fine, and they continue to act that way, then you have some decisions that you have to make. This is also the part that a lot of women don't like. You can either, A, accept it, and then just make jokes about that's just how men are. And then you run the risk of showing your kids, because no matter how many talks you have with your kids about boundaries and rules and communication, and they give you these cute little responses because they're little and you're like, oh, my kids get it. They're going to replicate what they see you and your partner doing. So you have to think to yourself, am I okay with accepting this and accepting the fact that my daughter could be treated like this by her partner? My son could go off and treat his partner like this, or vice versa. Am I okay with that? Or you could be a badass bitch and be like, I'm going to put up with this for X amount of time. Hopefully it's not long. And, give him his space to go through whatever he might be going through. And if X amount of time passes and things haven't changed, then I have to accept that this is the way it is and I don't want it. And then make a plan for me and my kids to exit stage left. Unfortunately, a lot of women choose the first option where they just accept it. Maybe they overhear or somebody tells them that that's just how men are. So they go and continue getting the cold shoulder. And it's to the point where there's just two adults existing in a household. And this will affect your children. Very rarely, unless it's something extreme like abuse or cheating, will women say, I'm not going to be treated like this, and then make their plan to leave, because we've been taught that something like that isn't that big of a deal, because again, that's just how men are. No, the fuck it's not. If you don't set boundaries, if you don't act on those boundaries, they'll just continue acting like this. You deserve to be communicated with in a precise and timely fashion. You deserve to be treated like you are married to this asshole. We're married. We're supposed to be acting like we are married, like we love each other, like we love being together. I'm not going to be married and you're acting like you don't want to be married. What the hell?